Okay, just out on the new Voge DS800X, picked it up the other day, just got it for a week on loan. Curious because it's 6995 plus 200 on the road, 94 horsepower, 800cc parallel twin, loads of accessories, heated seat, traction control, steering, dampener, no ride-by-wire throttle, which is going to make it better for off-road, I think, a little bit more intuitive, but it also means no cruise control. But we have got things like centre stand. Weight of this thing, 242 kilos. The claim weight of 213 was a bit out. That's fully fueled with a 24 litre tank. They say it's going to be a little bit better off-road or more off-road adventure than the 900s. Personally, I think it's going to be too big. Only one way to find out, isn't there? Third gear. Let's go down to second. Let's have a go at art brake. This is a silly idea, but needs must. First gear. I've got to say, I've got road tyres on, they're the Pirelli STRs. Well balanced, lovely throttle, I've got to say that. People have asked me what the throttle's like, well, I've got to say, it's beautiful. That's first gear with a bit of clutch slip. Weight management is pretty good. I mean, it's heavy, little dab there. I mean, it's too heavy for trail riding, let's be honest. I'm doing this just to see, but won't fancy a day of it. To be honest, if I got a 900 Voge and I wanted to do a bit more trail riding, I'd keep the 900 and I'll get the 900 and I get a 300. Whee! See, that's tiring on that. You did it! Oh, look at down there. Let's pull up. Let's give you a quick download before we get too far. To me, having weighed this and had a look around it the other day before I've ridden it just then, that's a gnarly trail. It's a gnarly trail. That is a big bike, 242 kilos, so it's GS weight, full tank of fuel, 24 litres. It's going to have a range of at least 300 miles, 21 inch front, 18 inch rear, tubeless, great asset. I don't want a Tenere, a V-Strom or a Transart with tubed, because to get that wheel out, get that tyre off to change a tyre, change a tube, no good. I want to be able to plug it in and go. That's what this bike's got. 6995. I mean, we've got crash protection. We've got sump guard, we've got foldable tips, removable rubbers, centre stand. As I say, Pirelli STR tyres, so not the best. Obviously the AX41s that they've been fitting to some other press bikes would be better. This is just a loaner bike from MotoGP. You can tell how much harder work it is out of puff. You know, that's a great 300cc lane or 450 lane or 250 lane. But immediate assessment of it, it's got a capability. A lot of that comes from the KYB suspension. I think it's 200mm front and rear, which is not a hell of a lot. It's not as much as a Tenere. Ground clearance is less than a Tenere, but it was well controlled, wasn't it? We've got some big rocks there, some hits on it. Not fast paced because I was down to first because it's a climb, but it was absorbing and it was controlling and it was riding. I could ride it through. I was impressed. Obviously, elephant in the room, not only the weight, is the fact it's Chinese. A lot of people, it almost becomes boring listening to people say, I'm not going to buy it because it's Chinese. Well, you know, I hate to break it to you, but everything's bloody Chinese. Everything we buy is Chinese these days. And a bit like when I did these Scott waterproofs now that I did a video on the other day. Say, might be a European or an American brand, but they're made in China. And all I see it with buying a Chinese bike is cutting out that Western middleman who's, you know, making all the money, because this bike's got more kit on it, more power than the V-Strom 800, but it's £3 less. Same with the Transalt. You know, it's got all this extra kit and it's £3 less. And those manufacturers aren't building out of Japan anymore. Well, I think Suzuki still are. Oh dear. I hope I don't get scratched up too much, but one thing I wanted to pick up on, there's this notion that, you know, this is a better off-road bike. Well, look, I'm a fairly skilled rider with a lot of experience, and I'm off-road in Britain. This is off-road in Britain. We have easier tracks, we have harder tracks, but this is off-road in Britain. So if you've got this silly notion that get the 800 because it's better off-road, certainly if you're in the UK, you're barking up the wrong tree. You need a 300. to do this sort of stuff. So I'm going to discount this bike as an off-road bike, and I'm going to say, if you do want to go off-roading, get a 450, get a 300, and if it has to be an 800, maybe get a 700, get the 10er, because I think that's well proven, robust, dependable, lots of parts availability. I get a feeling this bike, now I'm going to get to the road in a minute, is it going to be the better road bike than even the 10er. I've mentioned on another video, a longer intro video, static video, which I've still got to upload, that I rode the 10er 700 in the US recently, on the road mainly, but a little bit of track. And I wasn't that, I gotta be honest, I wasn't that impressed with it. And I wasn't that impressed because it's got an uncomfy seat, it's got a, oh sugar. See, this is where that weight, 240 kilos in a narrow gully, rut, slippy, muddy. This is ankle breaker territory, this is. So I'm just saying, I'm paddling, you know, and I think the key thing with green laning or trail riding is always keeping an element of control within you, and if that means paddling, so be it. Like, it doesn't have to be stylish. Like now, I just have to get this press bike and my body back to the end of this lane in one piece, you know. So I'm paddling, which is not very exciting. It's not good for my hip, but it's easier than picking up a 240 kilo bike on my own. So yeah, I wasn't impressed with that 10er, if I'm honest. Not as certainly as a road biased tourer. I just couldn't see what attributes it got. And this one, lower seat height, comfier seat, bigger tank, better screen I'm open, more power. I think this would be my choice over a 10er as a tourer. And I think the contest would be between this and a V-Strom 800 second hand, because a V-Strom 800 is a good road bike as well. This is horrible, sorry guys. Bit of a lame first video, but as I say, it's not my bike. Keen to take it back in one piece. I've still got some tours to run this year, and I don't want a broken leg or ankle. But I was keen, you know, that hill there, that first hill, is a great litmus test of a bike and how it copes with everything really. Low end, throttle input, balance, suspension, composure. It's a great lane for testing bikes, and this is probably the biggest bike I brought up there actually, and it did it really well. I'm sorry I'm nervous here. You might be thinking stand up and ride it, but the problem here, and this is a lane type of rut to watch out for, when you've got a narrow rut no wider than your tyre, which is banked on either side and grassy and wet, and you've not got great tyres, you only need to be a millimetre out, catch the edge of that tyre, and then you're just going to tuck and go down. The bike's going to come down on you and you get injured. So narrow ruts to me are by far the worst thing, certainly on a bike like this. I came down this lane on the Beta Alp last week, 150 kilo bike, came down it all the way stood up on the pegs riding the bike, and that's what difference 100 kilos makes. Okay, we're out. So this kind of track is more suited to more the kind of track that this is suited to, but it's still a bit, I've got to be honest, it's still a big bike. It is still a big bike. I don't want to do trail riding on this. I'm off to do the Portugal ACT with the group next week, or in 2 weeks, and I thought, if I could get hold of one of these, would I take one of these? Whoa, wash out. And the answer is no to that question. And the simple answer came in that moment there. I know we haven't got great tyres on, but some people put the tyres as being the difference between something riding well off-road and not, but it's not tyres, it's weight. You can have crap tyres on a lighter bike and it'd be fine. You can have great tyres on a heavy bike and it'd still be terrible. And when you start hitting that sort of mush that sits on the surface, and I watched Adam Ryman's test of that GS 1300, you know, where he's raving about it and he's making it dance and that, but as soon as he hit that soft silty stuff and the weight of the bike just transitions into the dirt and the tyre, and it doesn't work, and down you go, you see. And the lighter the bike, the less of a problem that is. And so it's alright saying these bikes are great. Yeah, they're great until that point when they're not, and then it's like having a quarter of a ton falling on you. So I don't really want to, you know, I've just proven to myself that it can do some track. But would I ever want to come green laning on this again? No, it's too high a risk of injury. You know, like the CF Moto 450 MT, 40 kilos lighter, and that's a huge difference. I think where I'm interested in this bike is on this type of terrain, back road. How well does it ride? How well does it grip and go? Cable operated throttle, which means you've got a pretty good feel, to be honest. I like the feel of that. Sounds good under load, under power. It's quite slow to build actually. I get the impression that it's more mid to top end than bottom end. It's not that it's flat, but it's not brap, brap, it's more brap. Off we go. I mean, it's a tight engine and I'm riding tall geared because it's wet and well, it's muddy. So I tend to ride a tall gear in these conditions just because, you know, it softens the bike off a bit. Brakes, what are they like? Yeah, alright, yeah, no wrong with them. Gearbox is nice, clean. You know what? For 94 horsepower, I don't think it feels blisteringly fast. You know, it's not got that bloody hell we're going now you know, sense to it. I was incredibly impressed. Cheers, mate. I was incredibly impressed with that V-Strom 800 engine. You know, that's not got the power this is. I think it's about 10 brake horsepower down, but that engine just sang all the way, all the time. It was a beautiful engine on that V-Strom 800. I don't think this is as nice as that engine, not immediately at least. I'm going to do this track here, and I'm going to be cautious on this track because, again, we've got a bit of top surface water. It's rained in recent days, and I've got no grip. And it's these mushy bits there, that mush. And that weight just wants to plough into that mush. This is more your sort of typical, I guess, European mountain track type road, or BDR in America. And I think this is, if you're going to consider this as an off-road bike, I think this is where I'd stick to, this sort of track. It patters a bit, the suspension's quite firm actually, it's not as cosseting as, I was thinking the best comparison would be the Himalayan 450. That thing floats along stuff like this. Yeah, it's a little bit firm, a little bit jittery. I don't think it's as refined. I can't compare it to a Tenere. CF Moto. Yeah, a bit more akin to a CF Moto, I'd say. I mean, I've got loads of grunt. I've got a nice standing position. I can reach that gear pedal nicely, a nice light clutch, hydraulic. I think one of the questions about what's the throttle like? Well, I think the throttle's perfect actually. It's very crisp, direct. There's no snatch in it, there's no bogginess in it. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, this is a different kind of bike to what I'm used to. I normally ride smaller bikes these days. I have done the GS route and I admire the GS a lot, but you know, I realise as you get older, 250 kilos on a trail is just stupid. You know, you're going to get. It's not a question of when you get hurt. It's if you get hurt, it's when you get hurt. Too much weight, you know. Because one day it's going to fall on you. Yeah, look, this is behaving like road suspension, or 80% road, 20% trail suspension. It's doing it, it's pretty controllable, it's nice. I've seen riders better than me riding it really aggressively, so it's obviously capable. I always think what my litmus test of a good adventure bike is how will it get to Wales and how will it do the trails in Wales and then ride home. And I think this size of bike is one of them bikes that gets the trails really nicely, really easily on the motorway. And if you stick to an easy track, it's really good, really flattering. But as soon as you want to do anything a bit choppier, that's when you're in trouble. So, you know, this bike won't convince me that the 450 is not a better option for people who are wanting to do road and trail. Because, like, my confidence level on that 450 is up here. and on this it's down there. And I know time will overcome some of that, but time and confidence can only go so far. But let's get back to the bike, and I think mechanically, you know, we're hard pushed nowadays to tell the difference between Japanese and Chinese, and I think that's a worry for the Japanese, because historically they've got away with refinement, quality, pedigree, reputation, all that sort of stuff. But the longer these bikes are out, these Chinese bikes, and the more reliability, reputation they get, and I've got to be honest, the Chinese bikes I run, they don't give me any more issues than any other bikes. You know, bearings can be a bit weak, but other than that, mechanically, chain even, they hold up. So look, anybody thinking about getting this bike to ride it on track, personally, unless you're a very good rider, you're barking up the wrong tree. You really are. Keep your 900 Voge, get a 300. And have a proper off-road bike, not one that's just pretending or trying to be. This is a road-based adventure bike. Boy. Let's get that traction control back on. I just had a little bit of a back end twitch then. Okay, I thought I'd be able to turn that back on. Now I can't seem to be able to turn it back on when moving. Yeah, I mean, it rides nice, isn't it? What it'll be like on a motorway with a screen, I can't tell you just yet. Seat feels good. No quick shifter, that's not something that personally bothers me. I don't know, it's up to you whether it does or not. I never use a quick shifter, I just don't ride in the manner that needs one or benefits me from having one. So I think it really only starts to go about 6. Below 6, it's quite docile actually. I mean, I'm not saying it's only as quick as a 500 or 450, but you've not got that like, so people who are thinking 2 up, I'm not sure it's got the grunt. Maybe it'll obviously carry 2 people in their luggage, no worries, but I've not ridden the 900, so I can't say if it's got as much grunt, but it doesn't feel like it's got a lot of bottom end. It's got enough, but it's not got that bottom end menace that some bikes have got. Got my traction control back on. Nice dash, I quite like the dash. I can turn ABS off on the front and the rear using the ABS button. Got fog lamps that illuminate when I indicate left and right, which I like. I think it's quite a nice sort of touch. Second gear, oh, he's not indicating. Hey, he's not indicating, no he is, hold on. It's alright. It's alright. Goes. Bit characterless. Didn't really get me. Goes alright though. Is it as good as the V-Strom engine? That V-Strom engine's, I think it's a lovely engine, that old TL engine, that Thau. Is it as nice as one of them engines? No, and actually you think, that bike still offers a lot for your money, a V-Strom Thau or a 1050. That's a good alternative to this, I'd say. Let's go. Yeah, actually, Suzuki makes some wonderful engines. That V-Strom engine is superb. I think it's my favourite engine I've ridden this last 3 years. You know what, this is almost a test ride for me, this bike, because I've got one of these on order. And I was going to add one to the fleet for people to ride back to back. And you know, where we take people out on roads like this, back roads, bit of trail road, like that long track back there, give them a chance to ride different bikes back to back. And I, you know, typically focus on the sub 450 range of bikes, sub 200 kilos generally. And I thought, well, is this of interest? You know, people who want to step up a grade, and this is also A2 compliant, so you can make it A2 compliant. And I've got to be honest, I can see why I've stepped away from this size of bike, having owned this size of bike in the past. And for the reason there on the overtake, yes, it's great having power for overtakes, but the issue certainly in North Devon is there are so many hidden gates, hidden pull-outs, muddy fields, muddy roads where the tractor's been out. There's that many hazards on Devon roads, and I think why I like the smaller bikes is because I don't think they're slow bikes anymore. The 450s and the 390 KTM, they aren't slow bikes, but you've got to work for that power. You've got to be on it, you've got to command that power, and you've got to devote your energy into getting that power out of the engine, which means you only take as much as you need, and you're very measured in how you get it and when you get it, because there's no surplus. And that means when you overtake, you only overtake with the extra power or extra speed that you need to get around the vehicle. The issue I have, and it's a really a reflection of my riding or restraint rather than anything else, my issue with these faster bikes with this much power on these kind of roads is when I pull out to overtake, I'm doing 100 miles an hour almost, or 95 or 90, and I've got that much inertia. I can't stop if something pulls out on me. I'm going for it. I've got too much speed build up. No matter how many pistons I've got or discs at the front I've got, I ain't stopping if a tractor comes out of me. And that engine's given me the power to get into that position. And people can say, well, you got the power to get out of trouble. I always think, personally, it's a power to get you into trouble that's the issue, not the power to get you out of trouble. If you relied on power to get you out of trouble, then I'm sorry, but you're a shit rider and you made a mistake. You should never need power to get you out of a bad situation. You shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with. So that's why, if anybody asks me, why I'm interested in this bike and why I'm interested in smaller bikes, this again is a great barometer for me to ride a bike with this much power and go, you know what, I don't need it. I don't need this much power to go down to Stella Alpina. I don't need this much power to go down to Wales or up to Wales. I don't need it. Because what it does is, A, you make me ride too fast and risk death, and I've got a family and I don't want to die yet. And C, when I get to a trail, it's too big. It's too big for me. Like, you're just going to end up with a broken leg, and then you're out of action. So, from a personal point of view, having this bike is again it centres me again on why I'm not interested so much in this sort of bike. That's a personal reason why this ride is useful for me. For you, thinking about spending $7 grand on an 800cc bike with 94 brake horsepower, I think it's a very good bike. You know, if you don't have any of those issues I tussle with, this is a very good bike. I mean, look at that throttle. Look at the refinement. I'm in fourth gear at under 2,000 RPM. Look at that. Beautiful pickup, creamy pickup. Better than a new Tenere pickup, better than a CF Moto pickup, better than most bikes that Euro 5 Plus pickup. And it's this kind of refinement on this type of speed which makes all the difference to how much you enjoy a bike. And how far actually, in this case, the Chinese bikes have come in overcoming Euro 5 emissions, or Euro 5 Plus emissions, and producing a bike that actually is incredibly well refined and imperceptibly different or negligibly different to a Japanese bike. this bike, a bit like the CF Moto, it represents an increase in parity between Japanese and Chinese, and actually in many cases showcases that the Chinese can offer better value, just as good ride quality, just as good riding experience, but with a lot better accessories. If I was a Japanese, I'd be worried right now, because this bike is as good as anything they're producing, and it's a lot cheaper with better accessories. The only downside, runs on E5, it says it will run on E10, I know these bikes will run on E10. Is there any long-term damage? I don't know. Service intervals are 3,000, which is frustrating because the Voge company importer in Italy is 6,000, so the UK are getting punished for just because of policy, importer policy, that's all. And the other downside is the weight, 242 kilos, it's a lot of weight, but then it's got a lot of fuel and it's got a lot of accessories, so it was never going to be 213. I don't know why they didn't just go, you know what, it's a bit, it can't be that. I don't know why anybody who's not ridden this bike and gone, there's no way on earth that's 213 kilos, no chance on earth. Because it don't feel it and it don't look it, and our experience should tell us that a bike with this much kit on it, with this much fuel, should never be 213 unless it's made of helium. So 242 kilos is not, it's not unexpected, and it's not too heavy for the type of bike it is and what it does, but it is heavy, An F800GS Adventure with 24 litres is 230 kilos without all the accessories, so it's on par weight-wise with an F800GS. So it's, you can't hammer it for being heavy when it's as heavy as it needs to be. This argument, why are they so heavy? Oh yeah, it's because they obviously bolted in lead bars just for the sake of it. No, it's just, it's coming cheap, it's got to be made of cheaper materials, and if you want it well spec'd, well, it's going to weigh a bit more anyway, so. Alright, it's a short test. It's told me, I think, all I need to know about it, and I think the next ride will just be telling you a bit more about it. Do I need a steering dampener? No. Does it look blingy, sensationally great in a showroom? Yes. Does showroom blink sell bikes? Yes. Unfortunately so. Does spec sheet weight sell bikes? Yes, which is why I think they stuck to 213, knowing full well it would never nowhere close to it. So, but look at it, it's this. Third gear, 23 miles an hour. A little clutchless upshift to fourth, lovely gearbox, precise throttle input, smooth on and off, there's no lurch on and there's no dip off. Brakes have got good feel. I've got a nice commanding position, bars are nicely placed. This presents well the screen and the cockpit area. I feel like I'm on a premium bike. A little bit of chatter over these sort of pot mark rows here. That's what I say. I don't think it's the last word in suspension sophistication, but it's $7,000. It's KYB suspension. I wasn't overly impressed with that 1008 700 suspension I rode in America. It pattered at the front end at 40 miles an hour, like that. And on back roads, it probably wasn't, or on trails it wasn't as supple as I expected. So the fanfare for the 1008, I don't think, having ridden the bike now, that 1008, that new 2025 bike, I'm not sure it lives up to the hype. It didn't for me anyway. And if you were to choose this or a 1008, you had to decide between this and a 1008 for going around America with 90% road and a bit of trail, I'd take this. Bigger tank, comfier seat, better screen, better refinement, more accessories, centre stand, tubeless wheels. It's a better bike than a 1008 for road-based adventures because it's better spec'd, better equipment, lower price. Is it as reliable? Time will tell. Can you get parts as easy? Time will tell. What's it going to be worth in 3 years' time? Time will tell. Yeah, it's got some get up and go. Yeah, get up and go. But you know what it is, and this is a measure to me of a good adventure bike. it's good at riding slow, because that's where, for a large part, you're riding your adventure bike. If you're exploring, if you're in a foreign city, if you're on a foreign trail, wherever in the foreign mountains, you aren't riding fast. You aren't using 94 horsepower, you're using 30 horsepower, 35 horsepower. And the measure of a good bike is how it can deploy low power at low speeds. How refined it is, how comfortable it is, how well balanced. Like now, it's well balanced. Get my feet down, I'm almost flat footed at 5'10". That's the measure of a good bike. And a measure of how refined a bike is. And I've got to say, with that cable operated throttle, good fueling, 850mm seat, weight that sits low. Like on the road, it don't feel 240 kilos. It don't feel like a GS 1200 weight. On a trail, like I'm going to discount this as an off-road bike. I personally wouldn't even consider it as an off-road bike. It's just a good, comfy, long-distance hauler for $7,000. Like, it still baffles me how. And don't forget, 20% of that is VAT. 20% of that goes to the tax man. So how are they doing it? You know, I know you're going to say, well, they're copying Japanese stuff, but they're not copying it and not improving it. They're copying it and improving it. They're giving us more kit. Manageable seat heights. That's the F-Moto 450 is an 800mm seat height. I mean, it's accessible in a way that a Tenere is not. Same with this. This is a positive review of this bike. It's not for me. I don't need this much power, and I'm comfortable with that decision. So don't mistake that for being a negative review. My conclusion on the bike itself is very good. It's in its first ride impression, has it got the character, has it got the flair of some of the other bikes, the KTM 790, 890, the Ducati Desert X? No. But has it got their price tags? No. That's it, I'm about to look over hill for Coombe. Nice little ride, hopefully I've not bored you too much. I've got a KTM 390 Enduro arriving next week, and that is my cup of tea, that. I'm looking forward to that one. Alright, take it easy, cheers.